in my language in Ndebele, there's a saying that says, "Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu." It means that a person is a person through humanity of other people, and we're nothing. We're not one. We're nothing when we're standing by ourselves in solitary. We are here because we're all together, and it is a great honor for me, and on behalf of the Mosaic Institute, the Mosaic Fellows, the York University Library, and Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, to introduce Hajir Sharifi. Hajir is a journalist and a human rights activist. As many of his other activities, Sharifi ended up leaving his country as a result of a government persecution against political dissidents. He came to Canada in 2014, and now he's studying human rights and philosophy here at York University. Last summer, he volunteered in Syria and Syrian and Iraqi refugee camps in the Kurdistan region, which is in the northern part of Iraq. He has been involved in raising awareness about ongoing crisis in the Middle East, and we can see through his work, his photographies, the experiences that the Syrian people right now are going through, and it's a great honor for me to call up Hajir Sharifi to speak. Thank you.
Since last September that I got back from Iraq, I've been trying to find a proper place to show this picture, to share those stories with Canadians, with people here, that to kind of raise awareness about the crisis that I saw firsthand, and I always try to kind of be their voice. Many of those refugees that I saw in those refugee camps, and I spent time with for days and nights. I tried to kind of, at the least I could do was be their voice here back home. So before I start, I want to kind of give a kind of short overview on the issue in Iraq. So the country hosts like 3 million refugees overall. So whole Iraq hosts 3 million, but the area that I was in during the summer is the north part of the Iraq, which is Kurdistan region of Iraq. This area hosts over 2 million refugees, and of that 2 million refugees, 245,000 are Syrians. I mean, Iraq has the least amount of Syrian compared to Jordan, Lebanon, and also Turkey. Among these, the rest is Iranians, Afghanis, and also Palestinians, the rest of refugees out of this number that I just mentioned. The camps are managed by UNHCR, which these people are resettled in 18 refugee camps, and I should say 13 refugee camps and 5 transit sites, which are kind of temporary sites to later resettlement. They are designed to host people for a temporary time. Over 30 international NGOs are active in the region. They are all trying to kind of work on different areas and different. They have different responsibility in these refugee camps. So the camps are all kind of scattered over the area at the north, and they are all close to 3 main cities in those areas. So I'll go inside the camps. What was happening inside the camps? So because the main problem starts inside, that people are you can't see any issue while you're standing outside and you're seeing. These camps are, they're all they have security, proper security around them and fence, and you cannot sneak in without permission or anything else. So the first problem starts with I should say, sorry, whatever issues have existed for refugees during the history, I could say they are all accumulated in this region for these refugees. There are reasons that later I'll mention why this is happening. The refugees are kind of suffering from multiple issues, from depression, from hopelessness to the lack of enough basic daily needs. And they all kind of suffering from multiple, a range of issues, which is not just 1 and 2 or 10. They're all kind of facing with many issues. So the main threatening issues and problems is lack of enough drinking water, food, and lack of electricity and space and enough and proper tents for these refugees. I mean, there are the region. Those who are familiar with the region is a scorching sunlight during the summer. It has a suffocative heat during the summer, and also a freezing cold during the winter. But all of those camps that I was working and I visited, during the day there are some of them 2 hours. So they have electricity to kind of just 2 hours for charge their phones, or if there is any kind of refrigerator or anything else that they can use at that time. So this is the main issue with the tents and with the electricity and with the basic, and also they don't have access to clean water. The water is provided by UNICEF, which is not enough. There are kind of water reservoirs that they've been filling them every day. But I have saw as soon as you step into those refugee camps, you see people lining up for water during the day. I mean, I have seen children waiting 2 or 3 hours to get a bottle of water that is for a glass of water. I mean, they all waiting in a line, and the huge lines it's not for food, not for anything else, just for water. Many of these camps, there are also many problems that goes back to the way that they were built. These camps were initially built as a temporary sites, as temporary kind of like for 1 week, 2 weeks for new arrivals to later on to transfer them to a proper place, but they never did that, and they are staying there. So the designing of these camps are the main issue. There are those who arrived first. They were lucky to get a proper tent, provided by UNHCR. But those who came later, as many Iraqis and many others as I come to, they just patch up a tent with the robes and blankets and kind of different piece of whatever they could find underground. They built up a tent with it, and they are living under it. So with this, there are also no proper washrooms. There is no proper sewage kind of system that you can. In all of these camps, I couldn't find any camp that they have a proper kind of washroom or amount of washroom for people. I mean, in 2 or 3 camps, I count the amount of the washrooms, and I compared with the whole population, like 150 people for just one washroom for 150 people. You can see that children cannot tolerate this situation, and many of them they find a place, nearest vacant place, they use it as a washroom instead. So human waste is all over the place in these refugee camps, which is the main reason of widespread and kind of infectious diseases, which is very, very common among given the fact that around 43% of the population are children under 16. I mean, when I was working with these doctors, which I should mention, the Doctors Without Border, they were all kind of many of those issues. They were so easy, kind of many issues that easily could be treated, but because of no proper facilities and healthcare system there, they have gotten into a bad situation, and the health of the patients were kind of deteriorating every day. So, and as I said, there is no healthcare system, or there is no healthcare kind of, there is no hospital, a proper hospital. There are some booths that provide some basic medicines, they are also suffering because of lack of enough medicine and enough professional staff in those booths that they are supposed to work on the healthcare. So if the refugees, many of those who cannot be treated inside the camps, they have to go outside and to the nearest town and city that they can find. And this also costs them a lot of money to treat the children outside the camps, and not the expenses aside, it also brings lots of other issues with it. The issues that given the fact that many of these children they are taking or carrying by their mother or single sister to the doctors, and there was also a huge amount of rape and sexual assault coming from taxi driver, local people, and also shopkeepers, and even hospital staff. Which I interviewed a lady from UN Women. They told me that 63% of these women and refugee women in these camps, they have gone through sexual assault, and they are sexually abused by local or strangers. So this is it is a very shocking number. It means six women out of 10 have gone through these sexual assault and kind of abuses. So as I said, there is no healthcare and there is no kind of medical center to deal with even with the victims of these issues that is arising as a second-hand issues, right? For sexual abuse and the victims of rape and sexual assaults that have been carrying out against women. There is no legal avenue available to these women if they want to go after these assailants. There is no proper even center for anything that they can even provide them with the basic needs. And not only this, that they will be in trouble if they open up, given the fact that this is a very conservative society, which religious and cultural norms would not allow. It's always punishing, as everywhere else. They are always punishing the victims, and they are blaming the victims for whatever happened. They don't care about other factors. So if a victim opens up about her sexual or her about assailants, so she will probably be killed by the family before everybody else. This is outside the camp. That inside the camps also the sexual violence for women and children, there are kind of the soaring number that many of them are suffering from, because there is no proper lock or no proper kind of security or kind of defense in those tents. The tents easily can be torn, and somebody stranger can go inside and do whatever he wants. And many children, they, as a result of these kind of accumulation, all of these has kind of changed and add lots of other issues that they were not there before kind of living there. So many of these children as a result have been traumatized. Women have been traumatized. They have been suffering from all of these coping with the new situation, with the new environment, with the lack of everything, with the lack of education system, with the lack of any proper or any basic needs that they need. So in like 12 refugee camps that I worked with during the summer, I work in, and people came to you and begged you for a diaper, not for anything else. People came to you and asked for milk. Please, my children can't sleep because I cannot provide, because I don't have enough nutrition to produce milk. My infant cannot sleep. My infant, he's suffering, and he has or she hasn't been sleeping for a week. I mean, this is the main issue in those regions, and they are really suffering. They are really are in danger, and we tend to think that they are safe since they are not being bombed by ISIS anymore. But they are not in any way, in any sense, safe. They are alive, but they've been given food by UNHCR, which is lentil or potato or just like very basic nutrition that also they are also have brought many other health issues with themselves. So many people here since September I got back. Many people ask how they can help or what is our responsibility to that. Well, the first thing, when many things happened after that, the Paris attack, I saw many other anti-refugee sentiments around in Canada, also in European countries. Our main job, I think, is we take a look at this picture and see them and sympathize with them, and just for a moment imagine that they are our sisters, our children, our mother, son, whoever. And this is the reality on the ground. In those refugee camps, I haven't seen any aggressive male, any terrorists or whatever they are kind of picturing here in many. I saw many petitions that kind of portraying refugees as these kind of valiant and kind of gigantic creature that eats or kicks or whatever, takes up the job. These children are suffering. We should have an image based on these pictures. We should have an image. This is the reality. The mainstream image that is produced by media, which is produced by political kind of motivated rhetoric, is loaded with xenophobic and racist sentiments. These children are not posing any threats. They are struggling for next meal in those refugee camps, either we want it or not. This is the reality on the ground, and we should do something about it. So the first thing is kind of producing that counter image to the mainstream that is refugee blah blah, and the rest of the story. Our responsibility toward these children is not just. I don't like to just look at them as hopeless people that they are suffering because of the idiocy of their politicians and whoever is the result of this suffering. We for centuries, for decades, as Western countries and other powerful countries, we have been backing up bad governments in the region. There are dictators that for many years they have been backed up by the West, by other countries that they are the reason of this. I mean, this is not happening because of some maniacs in the region and some bloodthirst groups like religious fundamentalists of ISIS or Bashar al-Assad or other dictators in the region. This is accumulation of wrong policy making from the West, from other countries, that is amount to this crisis right now, that we can see that the Middle East is falling apart because of backing up and weaponing, or shipping all of these weapons to the wrong hands in the region. I mean, looking from that perspective, we can see what is our responsibility to these children. They are not just some helpless victims that are suffering because of their idiocy or whatever they happening to them. These children are suffering because of carelessness of others or of wrong policy making somewhere else. This crisis, as I said, it doesn't spring out of the ground in one night. It's piling up from decades of policy making and stuff. So there are multiple ways for those who are trying to help. There are at least the least somebody can do is writing to the politicians here, writing to the ministers that they have voted for, they choose to kind of to representing them in centers of powers here in Canada. I mean, the least is writing a letter. We care right now about Syrian refugee, which is good. I'm happy after 4 years or 5 years we just paid attention to this issue. But there are also Iraqis that are suffering because and there is no media, there is no attention to their cause because there is no dictator that we hate. Because we cannot raise the humanitarian issue right now because it doesn't serve our cause in the region, or our cause as Western countries, I say. Because if there is a Bashar al-Assad that right now everybody wants him to step down, there is nobody in Iraq that West or a mainstream kind of politic in the world wants him or her to step down. That's why we don't pay attention to Iraqis. We neglect it. The Yazidis are suffering. I interviewed 20 women who spent over 1 year in captive. They were sold as a sex slave in this region. But there is no organization that offers them any help or anything else. This is as shocking as the Syrian refugee crisis, and we should also raise the issue of Iraqis because there are also human beings. They are neighbors. Many of these children that you see in the pictures, some of them are Iraqis, some of them are Yazidis. That they don't have anybody to represent them. Right now, everything is about Syria, which is good. I hope that no Syrian refugee kind of lives anymore in camps. But there are also Iraqis that they are suffering. The other thing is there are also other organizations like Doctors Without Borders, like Medicare. There are also many organizations that they are really active in the region. They are saving lives. 2 days ago, I was talking with one of those doctors that I work with in those refugee camps. He was literally crying for blanket. Please do something for wherever you go. Just this is our account. This is whatever we had, we just spent it on blanket to keep people warm in this harsh winter. That the winter has really harsh, and there is no electricity to warm the tents. And lastly, and I think $1 can save a life there. A diaper, a milk, whatever you can send, medical kind of supplies or medicines that you can find a way to kind of launch it there or send it there. These photos that I've been showing around, the only reason I am showing them is just to transfer that pain that exists underground. I excluded many photos that graphically is intolerable. It's hard to see and go home without. I mean, I think it is not fair to show bleeding children on a floor of a hospital. I mean, I couldn't show it. I saw people in a bad kind of mood and in a bad situation that I don't want to put you in that. So these just are a cherry pick of those photos which are not that painful, but it is still, you can see how it is and how the reality is. So that's all. I think we have a responsibility to these children, either we want it or not. We cannot, I think, whoever has a conscience in heart cannot step away from these cause, cannot step away, be apathetic toward these children and towards these innocent who have been suffering because of somebody's else's fault or because of the wrong policy making. Thank you.